Welcome everyone to Meaningful Monday, and I'm super excited to introduce you to our guest today. Her name is Crystal Rasmussen, and she is a generational healer and spiritual coach. And she's coming to us from Salt Lake right now, but she resides in Montana and travels all over. And I hunted her down. So she has an event coming up in Minden locally for us here, and I saw the event, generational healing. It's like all in my get down, my little groove right now. And so I was like, oh, I got to go to this. And the date didn't work out, but by finding her, I took that opportunity to reach out to her, and I found her on Facebook. Through due diligence, and reached out to her, and she reached back. And so I'm super excited to have her here and introduce her to all of you. And with that being said, Crystal, hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I was so excited to get your message. And then when we chatted, I was thrilled to speak to everybody and you about the work I do, because generational healing is just a passion for me. It really has altered and changed my own personal life, my family's life, and all of the people that I've worked with. I see so many changes. And so, as you mentioned, I do travel. I'm based in Montana currently, and I travel across the United States, facilitating demonstrations and events like you saw in Minden. That's going to be coming up. And just really sharing the work of ancestral healing. So a little bit is, we carry so much pain and suffering. And if you look at families and your own family, other people's family, you carry certain patterns, certain behaviors, fears, limitations. You can notice physical diseases like headaches or backaches, knee pain that continue to get passed down. Addictions, anger, sadness, depression, anxiety, feelings of not good enough, that inner critic and how it rolls all the time. All of these and so much more that we experience that actually can be challenges in our own lives can be attributed to something that one of your ancestors within your own bloodline, their trauma, what they experienced in their life while living here on the physical plane. So what happens is when we leave this earth with something left unhealed, there's a density that remains. And you can feel as you're going through life, right? If you're really in a lot of struggles, like things feel heavy, you feel it on your shoulders, you feel it in your chest, like it might be challenging to breathe, things like that. You just feel heavy. And a lot of that is densities too that have been passed down from generation to generation. And so we choose which lineage we're coming into before we come in as a physical body. Our soul chooses, and we come into this lineage and we carry this pain, this suffering, these trauma and woundings from the moment we were born. And throughout our life, different ones can become turned on and activated. And you'll notice even scientists have begun to understand more on how things get passed down within the lineage. And we're really in a time right now where it's time to stop these. It's time to break those cycles. It's time to stop those patterns. And so generational healing is actually geared towards that specifically, is to all of those things that you're carrying that inherent generational trauma that's affecting you emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. What we do as generational healers, what I do as generational healing, excuse me, teacher and healer, spiritual guide, is really connect into and work directly with your ancestral lineage. So then we're able to have this conversation and be in communication. I'm going to say to go back farther than your own life, to release that density, to heal that pain that that ancestor specifically experienced within his or her own life. And they are asking for that healing. And so this ancestor steps forward, and I'm in deep conversation with them. I'm working energetically to release in that density, to heal, to offer that healing that they are seeking, that you are carrying within your cell, within the memory of your cells, within your bloodline that's being passed down. And as we do that, that just opens up and frees and heals the ancestor, heals you, children, family members, future generations. It's really important, I personally feel, to stop all of the cycles that have been continuing to break those patterns and those behaviors, and just begin to really do our own work in this capacity. Because as we do this, we really create a ripple effect within the world, you know, and it's really beautiful for me to witness the changes that happen, and really simply how honored and grateful the ancestors are to step forward and both receive this healing, but also offer it to you, to your lineage. Because what they experienced, their pain, their suffering, is affecting you. And how you're experiencing and seeing life, your perspective. And as we heal that and release it, you're suddenly free to experience more of who you truly are.
That's so beautiful. And, you know, as you're talking, just even, you know, I get the whole piece, like ancestors that are unknown, right? Even the ones
Right.
that are unknown. So going back,
Yep.
there's that piece. And then just and in my personal lineage, going backwards, you know, my grandmother, who I call my mom, she raised me, and she came from the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think of, you know, the suffering of that time, and you know, as you that just the always wanting, always needing more because there wasn't enough. So it was really hard to be in a state of gratitude when you're always longing for more because there just never seemed to be enough. And how that, you know, really gets passed down of, you know, to something as simple as eat everything on your plate, and you know, saving things and nothing goes to waste, and you know, and hoarding. You know, it was like grocery shopping with her was very interesting, especially when it came to like food,
Sure.
and taking those values on, and then, you know, obviously practicing them myself, and then passing that lineage on down to my children. And I know that that's fairly a benign example. When we think of some of the work that I know that you're doing, we're talking about, you know, more severe traumas also that are included in that.
As well. But yes, it absolutely can go to, you know, exactly what you're speaking. And because that does affect how you see your life, how you experience it. And there have been ancestors step forward, you know, where like there's not enough food, you know, and like how are we going to survive? And so releasing that and healing that really opens up for people to begin to go, oh, okay, yeah, so there is enough.
Not just behaviorally either, like as we're talking, like these lights and whistles are going on with that particular example of needing to store, right, needing to store and hoard and store and make sure that the cabinets are full at all times, but also like how that shows up in the body. And so when we think about storing on the body, it's like this unspoken, unconscious thing that, I mean, that the body naturally does physiologically its own sense of storing if we start starving ourselves or dieting and doing those types of things. But, when you think of ancestral lineage, that's, no, you must store. And, we wonder why do I have this extra weight? It really could be something as simplistic or like I said before, kind of benign in regards to, but that type of value system being passed down and passed down and passed down.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in the world that we live in today with addictions and basically living as hungry ghosts, and there's never enough, even when we have enough, and always grasping and being insatiable with life, and knowing that stuff. And I understand, like, when we think of ancestral healing too, I would think that a lot of it has to do, our DNA and our blood, our life source, our blood source, and that, that blood is ours. And there's a meme that's gone around for quite some time that talks about the egg of a embryonic female child, what I mean, and the mother that's holding the child, and that lineage. And it's just such a beautiful picture to think of 3 generations with one pregnant woman, with a bearing a female child. And that's it's amazing, our life and how it's created, and all the when we mix spirituality with more science now, and especially when we're really looking at the energy and the DNA and what is passed down, and how we do get to stop the cycle and start working on doing the healing work now. Because once we start ridding ourselves of the stuff that doesn't belong to us, because it's not ours, we're carrying it for others. Once we release all that, we become lighter and can really pinpoint what it is I need to work on. Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And it really is. When people come in for sessions, they really do. I mean, they will sit up off the table and literally look at me and go, I feel so much lighter. Mm-hmm. Literally, I feel more like myself than I've ever felt my entire life, because they're not carrying that one specific, that trauma anymore.
Right. So before you came into what, have you always been following this type of spiritual path, like childhood and young adulthood, and how what led you into here? Because my experience is that it's usually like a major event, right? Yes. Something that like shifts our path, and different things become more important to us. And so your story consists of.
Well, honestly, I was always interested in more of the, I guess, woo-woo, you could call it, the spirituality aspect of things. And I know, like, when I was a young child, my grandmother that had passed when I was really young would come and visit me, which was always a beautiful experience for me. But I very quickly learned in society that, there's some things that were where I was raised. in the environment that I was raised in. There's some things that you speak about, there's some things that you don't, some things that are acceptable, some things aren't. And so I personally, really, in order to fit into that box, I guess, really just shut down those gifts. And they would pique my interest every once in a while, but I just kind of pushed them away. And there came a point in my life where I was miserable, like emotionally, mentally. I was struggling. I'd been divorced. I had 2 kids. I was a single mom. And so I was doing it on my own. I ended up moving back home and actually lived with my grandfather and still continue to live on my great grandfather's farm, which is really interesting considering the work I do, right? But and then I actually ended up in another relationship where he was an addict, and he was an alcoholic, and totally in love with him. But things were really hard, and I realized how codependent I had become I'm not even going to say become, how codependent I was and always had been. It just was very apparent at the time. And so we ended up ending that relationship after years, and I was really unhappy because of how things ended, where things were. I was struggling, I was depressed. I used to have fear all the time, like it would stop me from literally doing anything. And one day I heard my grandmother showed up and she actually led me into a healer, an energetic healer that was in town. And I started going for sessions, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm starting to come back on the right track. And that began my journey. And then finally, when I was really ready and I'd done a lot of work, the founder of Generational Healing, her website dropped in on my computer. I don't even remember what I was searching for. And I was like, I have to do this program with her. And it was a different program at the time. But then partway through, she'd opened up this apprenticeship training, and I could feel it in each and every cell of my body that I needed to be a part of this. And so then my generational healing journey began. But yeah, I was a single mom, codependent relationships, extremely toxic. I would fall into emotional overwhelm and depression and withdraw from the world. And I was just really in an unhappy place in my own life. And searching because I was like, there's got to be something better. I feel like there's got to be more to life than what I'm experiencing right now, how I'm living. Like, I didn't come here just to be miserable and have this sadness that I don't even really know where it's coming from, and have all this fear, and like I felt like I needed, like there was a bigger purpose for me deep down, and I really began searching for what that was, because I wanted to feel connected. I wanted to enjoy life here, really merge my spiritual self, my soul self in the physical, so that I could experience it together. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And I know that that's so critical. It's so important, so that, that purpose, the gifts and the tasks that we were sent here to perform, basically, and if we're resistant to that, then we're not being a good student to the great teacher, right?
Correct. Correct. And things will continue to get worse, I've learned too, until you really listen and follow those nudges and guidance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it just continues to stay for years until you're like, okay, I surrender here.
Nice. It sounds like this woman that you took the course with is one of the very inspiring leaders and teachers in your life. Do you want to talk about her and your experience with her, or anyone else that you have found throughout your life that has been a great teacher for you?
Absolutely. You know, I really do feel that every person I've met, every person I've worked with, no matter where it was within my journey, that they taught me something, that there was something that I received from each one of them. And so for all of them, I am incredibly grateful. I have been working with the founder of Generational Healing. Her name is Deborah Sky King. She's up in Canada. I've been working with her for 6 or 7 years. And she's been my spiritual teacher, my mentor, the woman I go to for so much to grow and evolve and begin to understand the truth. You know, really getting to the core root of things has always been one of the things I've desired in life, really understanding, you know, where does that pain and suffering come from, and really what's happening emotionally that's causing this thing physically. And Sky has just been the most influential person in my life. She has had a way of really bringing me home to myself and really helping me to really begin to trust myself and feel more confident, gain my own self-worth, just in so many inspiring ways over the years. I've traveled to many different retreats up in Canada with her, and I swam with the dolphins in Hawaii with her, and went to Sedona and over in Uluru, Australia, you know, with planetary generational healing, and traveled to Avalon, Glastonbury, England with her, and really was able to drop into that experience. And so she's really been phenomenal in my own life and something that I aspire to, you know, to be better, to serve in a greater capacity.
Nice. Very nice. So if somebody were to reach out to you for like an individual, like, you know, I'm interested, I want to learn more. And, you know, it's awesome that we have you in real life for these events that are coming up. But if somebody wasn't able to make either one of those events and they were intrigued and really wanted to reach out to you, is that something, you know, I'm in the world of technology, we can reach out to people all over the world. And so it's a wonderful thing. Although in terms of like having a session or having time with you, is that something that's available?
Absolutely. So there's a couple different things that I do offer. So I actually do distance generational healing sessions. So wherever you are in the world, you get to kick back and relax and be open to receiving the healing that the ancestors are desiring to offer you. And wherever I am, whether I'm traveling or in my home base, I'm able to connect in with your ancestral lineage and be in communication with that ancestor and offer that healing. And so distance sessions wherever you're at, and they're phenomenal. People really enjoy them because they're in the comfort of their home, right? And don't have to worry about getting to some other place on time, or as you said, like I'm not, there's not everybody's able to come to those demonstrations or see me physically. So I am able to do that. And then I also do a 7-day generational healing certification training with women that are interested in both healing their own inherent family trauma and really coming into a transformational place within their own lives, but also with others that desire to, work with friends and family, or even take it out into the world and share this work on a bigger capacity. I'm actually in Salt Lake City right now because there's a student here that was had a training recently, and she's ready to take the world, do the more service within the world. And so I came down to work with her and to facilitate demonstrations and to really help get her going so that she can begin to see in-person clients as well. And so, so those are a few opportunities.
Nice, very nice. So, and I'll make sure to post how to get in touch with Crystal if this is something that you're more interested in, and then the events that are coming up.
Yes.
So yeah, so let's actually, me and you had talked a little bit about some of the experiences of people that have shown up for your demos and demonstrations, and the impact on those people's lives. So is there any story of someone that you feel comfortable enough sharing that maybe they followed up with you and they were like, so they had an experience during a demo and then they followed up with you and they were like, mind blown, right?
I have so many. It's going to be hard to choose because there really are. I mean, I've had people share with me, the abuse stopped and I continue to live in the same house. It's just so incredible. So there is I'm going to speak to one woman that she had come to a demonstration, but she had really enjoyed the demonstration so much that she had booked a session. And she freely says, please share. Please share. There's many that do, because their experience was so life-changing for them that they want others to know, because there's not a lot of generational healers within the world right now. And so they want people to know, hey, this is really amazing, sacred work. So this woman, she came in to see me, and we visited a little bit, and she's really like, I've got a lot of anxiety and I'm on medication and I still have anxiety attacks every single day. It really affects my life and how I live. We went on to talk more about it. Essentially, it affected her work and how she was able to perform. It affected her family life and how she felt around her family. It affected her relationship, her social life, because she would choose to not go someplace because she was afraid that the anxiety would take over. She would have to get up and leave, and she would embarrass and upset everybody. I'm sure many people can relate to, feeling things like that at some point in their lives. And so she's like, I'd really like to work something on my anxiety, but whatever shows up, because we don't choose the ancestors no more than we do. They show up, and we worked together one-on-one, and her ancestors stepped forward and shared her story, communicated her story. And by the time the woman sat up, she just looks at me and she's like, my mind's never been this quiet before. I don't really know what to do with it, because it's amazing. And she's like, yeah, I'm just so peaceful. And so she left, just really feeling amazing that day. And a week later, she came back and messaged me, and she's like, Crystal, I haven't had an anxiety attack at all since I've seen you. And she'd had multiple ones daily. It was normal for her. That was a normal experience. And she's like, this is amazing. And about 2.5 months after her session, she messaged me again, and she's like, I have to tell you my milestone. Like, you have totally changed my life. This work has totally changed my life, and I am so incredibly grateful. She says, I am off all of my anxiety medication, and I have not felt anxiety since I saw you. And over 2 years later, like, she still was like sharing and she's reaching out. She's like, yes, like, I'm still anxiety free because I was able to release that trauma, you know. And so I hear stories like that all of the time. Different people really going, I really understand myself and why I felt this way, why I've thought this, when I didn't really think there was a reason for it. And there are people that have said, I really found my tribe, like I don't like using that word tribe, but like really found my people, you know, where I feel like I can be myself. And there's people that they just feel more confident within themselves. They feel more empowered. They feel like they're able to communicate the truth more. I've heard, you know, it saved my relationship, and there's a sparkle back in my eye. I've heard, I finally feel alive. There was so there was a demonstration I did, and there was a mother and daughter there, and the daughter received, and by the time she got up off the table, she's just giddy and giggling and super happy. And her mother's sitting there, and she's like, that sounds like I finally understand now, like why she acts that way. There was a lot more compassion, right? I'm really beginning to understand. And pretty soon we're having this conversation, and pretty soon this mother puts her hand on her womb and she says, I'm actually feeling changes within myself right now.
Yeah.
Which just, so it goes to show the power of this work and what is possible when you step in to receive a generational healing session.
It gave me goosies. Bumps. Yes. Oh, so such good work. Such good work. Thank you so much for doing the work that you do.
It's such an honor. I'm really blessed to be able to do it, to be able to work with the ancestors in this capacity.
Well, and obviously have done the kind of work on yourself to where it cleared all the debris for you to be on the path. And
Yes.
you know, not not stifling our gifts, you know, and
Yes.
utilizing them for the greater good. No better time than right now for us to shed light in the world. And so thank you so much. I want to talk about your events. So you have 2 events coming up. You have one in Minden and one in South Lake. And then I don't know if you have any around the surrounding areas besides that, or in California maybe scheduled.
Don't have any scheduled yet in California, although I would like to get out there and get some scheduled. So please feel free, people, ladies, men, women, reach out. But yes, I do have, so after I leave here in Salt Lake, I'm headed over to Tahoe, and I'm going to facilitate a demonstration at Euphoria Yoga September 1st. And I'm really excited about that. And then I'm heading up to South Lake, and I'm going to be doing private sessions September 2nd there.
I think it's the 2nd and the 3rd.
Yep, and the 3rd is, September 3rd is the demonstration
Okay, that's right.
at, I think that's at 6 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
at Tahoe Massage and Wellness Oasis.
Yes.
Really super excited.
Mm-hmm. And I'll make sure to add that information in the links for anybody that would like to check it out or has some interest, or maybe just wants to watch what's happening. But I would encourage anybody to be interactive and reach out to Crystal because she's got such a shiny spirit. She does. Yes. So I'm going to be there. I am coming. I'm bringing a guest, and I will be there on the 3rd.
Great. I'm super excited.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it and being able to see you live and in person. And yes. So is there any questions that maybe I should have asked that we haven't covered?
Wow. The only thing I can think of is you had asked about my favorite quote.
Yep.
And I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
So my favorite quote, I love Eckhart Tolle, Brene Brown, there's so many great quotes. But my favorite quote actually comes from my teacher, is fear controls you. Why do you let it?
And that is like the magical, it's one of those questions like the Zen Buddhists almost, you know what I mean? When they ask questions like, what did your grandfather look like before he was born? You know? Yeah. Why do you let it? Why do we let it? Yeah. Yeah. You could definitely sit and meditate on that question for.
Yes, you absolutely can. It's really something that's always stuck with me. Reminds me that you don't have to be controlled by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I personally don't like being controlled by anything. My little rebel in me. So.
Same way.
Yeah, but that being said, I have been controlled by many things throughout my life that I'm pretty powerless over to some degree. Very nice. So, yep, I'm gonna have all your information in there. I thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing of yourself. And again, thank you for all you do for the world and the services that you offer people. And it's definitely a very specialized individual field. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the 3rd. So.
Yes, I'm really excited. Thank you again for reaching out. It's been an honor to share with you and your audience and community and that you felt. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Okay. Mm-hmm.